Palestine Action can challenge the UK ban, the court rules. Let's have a look into this more from the BBC, you guys. This is very interesting. So, Palestine Action has won permission to challenge its controversial ban by the UK government under the terrorism legislation. This is very fascinating indeed. So, obviously, I have to be a little bit careful with the language that I use with regards to this, as you guys know here. But Palestine Action has been designated a terrorist organisation, whether you like it or not. Under the current laws, that is what it is. However, the group are looking to challenge the the UK government once again on the court ruling, and that they've been successful in there to be able to have another hearing on this. Now, that could be quite significant, and this could potentially lead to potentially getting it overturned. I don't agree with the assessment. I don't agree that in my view that Palestine Action is a terrorist organisation. However, that is what the UK government has, under its laws, has designated it as. But we also know that the way they did it was very shrewd and very, very cheeky, because when they designated them, they designated two other organizations that were definitely terrorist organizations. I'm very curious to see how this goes, and I'm hoping that they have some very good lawyers on board. I don't know if someone like the Good Law Project or others will assist them in this, because based on what I have seen and what I've heard about this group, they haven't really done anything that has been, in my opinion, considered as terrorism. Because when you think of terrorism, you think of people who have hurt and killed people. You think of those who have brought harm to others. The only real damage that they have done is and which is under the definition of terrorism, is damage to property, damage to property, and damage in certain aspects. Now, the thing that triggered this in the first place was them getting inside an airfield base. I believe it was in Cyprus, and they basically spray painted some of the aircraft in there, and essentially that was apparently enough for the Home Secretary to declare Palestine Action a terrorist organization. Now, is it to say that there is lines that they cross, perhaps? Yeah, when this group, yeah, I do think there is some cases that lines are crossed. Yeah, to be fair, but I don't agree with the legislation that the UK government has stated it as a terrorist organisation. I disagree with it, but at the end of the day, that is what the government has declared them as. But we will have to see, obviously, how this challenge will go, guys. So, in a major decision, the High Court has ruled that the proscription of the group has carried out break-ins at defensive firms linked to Israel as part of the direct action protest should be reviewed. The Home Secretary Yvette Cooper has banned the organisation last month after following an estimated £7 million of damage to jets at the RFF Brize Norton. So lawyers for the group's co-founder, Hama Amunia, had argued that the ban breaches the right free speech and has acted like a gang on legitimate protest. The government says the ban is justified because it narrowly targets a group that was organising serious criminality. It means that membership or support for Palestine Action is a crime, and that can lead up to 14 years in jail. In his ruling, Mr. Justice Chamberlain said that the ban might conflict with the rights to free speech, and the Home Secretary could have consulted Palestine Action before going ahead, which she did not, as far as I'm aware. But he refused an appeal by the group to temporarily lift the ban, and it remained prescribed ahead of the full review of the Home Secretary's decision at the High Court over the 3 days in November. Lawyers for the government were denied permission to appeal against Wednesday's court ruling. Meanwhile, opponents of the ban said they hoped to organise a demonstration early next month in London. The judge said that unless the ban was swiftly reviewed, there was a risk of chaos, with people accused of supporting the group arguing that their prosecutions were wrong. Mr. Justice Chamberlain said that while there was a formalised semi-secret appeal process for groups that went to the Home Office to review a ban, the process would not lead to a hearing before a panel for at least a year. So that delay meant that people accused of offences relating to support or membership of Palestine Action might actually challenge prosecutions, he said. So some 200 people have been arrested on suspicion of publicly protesting support for Palestine Action since it was banned. If the legality of the proscription order can be properly be erased by way of the defendant, the criminal proceedings, that would open up the spectre of different and possible conflicting decisions on the issues in magistrates' courts across England and Wales, or before different judges or juries in the Crown Court. And that would be a recipe for chaos, said the judge. He said that there was a strong public interest in allowing the legality of the ban to be determined in the judicial review proceedings at the High Court, which I think is the crucial thing here, because I don't think I just don't think there was this. I just feel like, to me, from the way that this has been done intentionally to have a go at one designated group here when it comes to the support of Palestinian people. So court documents disclosed to the BBC reveal how officials and ministers deliberately, for at least 8 months, over whether to ban Palestine Action under terrorism legislation. The UK's terrorism laws focus on banning groups that use serious violence to further a cause, but the definition also allows ministers to outlaw organisations that cause serious criminal damage. And they have caused serious criminal damage. That is not... But I don't think you can really argue that they haven't caused serious damage, because under the definition of terrorism, that is what they have done, Palestine Action, in that regard. But when you think of... But again, I said it at the start, when you think of the word terrorism, you think about groups that actually terrorise and hurt people. But that's not what Palestine Action have seen to be done. Palestine Action is the first group to be prescribed under part of the definition. Since the group's launch in July 2020, it has carried out more than 385 direct actions against firms that links to Israel's military, leading to more than 676 arrests. The cross-government debate over the ban begins in earnest last November after an assessment of the damage that Palestine Action members had been accused of causing a break-in at the EBIT system, an Israeli defence firm in Bristol, in the previous August. 18 people have been charged in relation to that incident, which includes allegations of assault on security guards and 2 police officers. It's allegations. Again, that's the word allegations there. We do have to state that. The individuals have denied all wrongdoing, and trial starts later this year. Government papers in the legal challenge brought by Ms. Amaroni revealed police chiefs told by the Home Office the network's activity was unaffected by ordinarily criminal investigation. Quote, operationally, existing legislation is seen as insufficient to address high-level offences which meet the definition of terrorism, officials wrote in March. There is currently no existing legislation to deal with Palestine Action hostility, meaning that the network can only be dealt with on a case-by-case basis in response to isolated incidents of direct action. From the perspective of regional police forces, it is argued that the fractured case-by-case approach has proven operationally ineffective, considerably limiting preventive and disruptive opportunities. The police argued banning the group would help prevent crime, but they also warned that it could look like state repression and the use of draconian counter-terrorism legislation. And this is the thing. This is what I think it is. I don't see it as preventing. I don't see it. I see it more as preventing, more as state repression than preventing crime here. The fear was partly echoed by the Foreign Commonwealth and the Development Office, the FCDO, in the advice that is sent to the Home Office counterparts. Officials said said that a ban would be read by some international partners as a stand against anti-Semitism, but added, acting in this way may be interpreted as an overreaction by the UK. And this is what I generally believe it is. I believe it's an overreaction. Quote, Palestine Action activity is largely viewed by international partners as activism and not extremism or terrorism. They advise that Palestinians themselves and Arab states could regard banning PAG as an attempt to shut down activism, and a Home Office analysis of potential tensions in the UK also highlight risks. Prescribing PA would almost certainly be perceived as evidence of bias against British Muslim communities in favour of British Jews and Israel more broadly, wrote officials in one of the documents disclosed in the case. Prescription is likely to generate significant discontent and could introduce new social cohesion challenges. And by the end of March, papers showed that the Home Secretary was considering banning the group, but had raised a series of questions. The papers indicated that she consulted other ministers during May and finally decided to ban the group after the June 20th break into the RAF Brits Norton. With his ruling, Mr. Justice Chamberlain said waiting for a decision on the ban will have an impact on the claimants and others' freedom of expression and freedom to protest on the issue of considerable importance to them, and whether one agrees with them or not, or to the country as a whole. He referred to the evidence presented during the case of incidences where some people protesting over the situation in Gaza had attracted police attention, even though that they were not supporters of Palestine Action. And we have seen that. We have seen people who are not part of the organisation, who are anyway in safe form, but have been arrested and have been taken after by police in doing so as well, unfortunately. A woman in Kent was questioned by armed officers while holding a sign with the words Free Gaza and the Palestine flag, said the judge. And he cited the case of human rights campaigner Peter Thiel, who posted on social media that he had been stopped by security staff at a concert in Trafalgar Square because he was wearing a badge and the colours of the Palestinian flag. Mr. Justice Chamberlain said that such reports are liable to have a chilling effect on those wishing to express legitimate political views, and this effect can properly be regarded as an indirect consequences of the proscription order. Yeah, this is the crux of it, and I think the part that really sticks out for me is out of all this is here. And this bit here, I want to read it again. Prescribing that Palestine Action would almost be perceived as evidence of bias against British Muslim communities and in favour of British Jews and Israel more broadly. And at a time when tensions are already really, really high against Israelis right now, whether they are supporters of the Israeli government or not supporters of the Israeli government, we know that there is a huge amount of anti-Semitism growing amongst Israelis and Jewish people because of what's happening in the Middle East with regards to Gaza right now, and that obviously, and when you have a group that has been doing what it is doing, and make no mistake about it, they have caused criminal damage, the Palestine Action. I'm not arguing that, and I'm not debating that. But do I see them as a terrorist organization? I do not. And I do feel like that this is being lobbied. I'm alleging that I do feel that it does come across to me that there's been a lot of lobbying from Labour Friends of Israel, from Israeli lobbyist groups that have pressured the Home Secretary and this Labour government to move in this direction, to designate them. Because as it says in the article there, what happened is when they were designated this, once they were designated this, it put people off from wanting to stand up and support the people of Palestine, to support what's happening, to stand up against what they see what's happening in Gaza as barbaric and atrocious. And we know what's happening in Gaza is barbaric and atrocious. That people cannot freely express themselves because they don't want to be designated part of Palestine Action, even though some of them are not part of the group, but because they are called Palestine Action, some people are implied by that by the police, which is a very problem. And so it's a very grey area for the police. So even the police have trouble with this situation as well, because people are just protesting against what's happening, but the police don't know if people are representing of that group or not, and they are making a conscious decision to take action against people who are peacefully protesting about what's happening in some parts of the UK and some parts of London where some protests are taking place. So it's a problem for the police as well. I really don't think the Home Secretary thought enough about this, in my view. And again, I do understand the definition of terrorism is obviously when you're causing criminal damage. It is under the UK law is designated as that. And do I think Palestine Action do cross the line sometimes? Yes, I do. But I also understand their cause. So, but unfortunately, as of right now, they are still considered a terrorist group. Whether you like it or not, they are still designated of that. Now, as it says there, they can challenge the courts, but it's not going to be straightforward, and it is going to be a while. But in the meantime, there needs to be clarity on the police when it comes to the grey area about on this as well, because I do feel like that people who are standing in solidarity with Palestinian people are being suppressed, and that goes against our freedom of speech and our rights to protest, even though some people are not part of Palestine Action in any way, shape or form, and that issue needs to be fundamentally addressed there. But what do you guys honestly think about Palestine Action being able to challenge the UK ban of court rules? Can they win this ruling? What do you guys make of this all? Let me know your thoughts and more down in the comments section below. Now, if you found this video interesting and informative, hit that like button, share this across social media, subscribe if you haven't already. Do check out Rumble and Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. And if you want to financially support me in the work that I do here, click the join button down below to become a YouTube member for as little as 99p. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.